Hello and welcome. Odds are by now you've heard about this, but just in case you haven't and somehow stumbled onto a YouTube channel with a subscriber count in the single digits to see this video first, let me break it down for you. A YouTuber, NanoVMovies, came up with a great idea to have 9 video essayists make a video about their favorite superhero scene and add it to a playlist called One Marvelous Scene. Then they opened up the playlist to the YouTube community at large saying, make your own Marvelous Scene video. Tweet it to him at NanoVMovies, and he'd add it to the playlist. I saw that and immediately wanted to join in, but I had to learn how to create a video first, so here we are. Many months later, and I'm finally ready to do this, because why not? It's fun. The scene I wanted to do showcases one of my favorite techniques in filmmaking, modern movies or classic. In it, we see that superhero films don't have to be 3 cuts for every punch, kick, or fall, and that fights are more than just slamming fists into each other as you jump from one side of a city to the other. I'm talking, of course, about Mera's rooftop chase scene in Aquaman. In it, they make use of a film technique called the long take to smoothly track back and forth between Mera's and Aquaman's fights, keeping us appraised to exactly where both of them are in relation to each... What? I'm sorry, can this wait? I'm kind of in the middle of something here.
It's supposed to be about Marvel superheroes.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. That explains the name of the playlist. I mean, I guess it's kind of obvious when you stop to think about it. Huh. Marvel isn't exactly known for their long takes. In fact, Marvel's not even known for their normal length of takes, if I'm being honest. But, hey, that's fine. I can work with this. Okay, from the top. NanoVMovies' favorite Marvel scene, thank you little buddy, a couple months late. The scene I want to talk about is an iconic scene from the Spider-Man movie. In it, we get to see that Peter Parker is just a mere mortal, surrounded by gods among men. He's been doing things for a while, but he doesn't have the limitless resources of Iron Man. He doesn't have the iron will of Captain America. He doesn't even have the support network of Nick Fury. It's just Peter, doing his best and cracking jokes, even when he's not feeling confident in himself. I'm talking about the I re-examined my personal biases scene from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. In it, we see not the Peter Parker we're all familiar with, but one who has let being a superhero destroy his life. One who has...
Daddy?
What's that?
It's supposed to be a Marvel movie.
Yeah, no, I heard you the first time. Favorite Marvel scene.
Into the Spider-Verse isn't a Marvel movie.
What do you mean it's not a Marvel movie? Spider-Man is with the MCU now.
It's complicated.
Well, then who made it?
Sony.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
We're talking about the same Sony that did that Rocky 3 ending with the rhino suit guy, right?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, good for them. Okay, I can still do this. Once more, NanoVMovies, yada yada yada. My favorite scene is this one, from the first Iron Man movie that I'll call the Don't Waste Your Life scene. In it...
Dad!
Oh, come on! There's no way there's anything wrong with me choosing a scene from Iron Man. What do I have to talk about? The first real female lead in Marvel movie? They thought I forgot, but guess what? I didn't, Marvel. We'll never forget that atrocity. I mean...
Daddy.
What?
Someone already did that scene.
Someone already did the scene? You know what? Forget it. I don't care. No more interruptions. I'm doing this scene. Let's talk about Tony Stark. Tony Stark is a...
genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Okay, yeah, he's certainly that now. But who was Tony Stark when we first met him? We certainly find out in Iron Man 3 about the callous way he treats strangers, or people in general, such as when he sends Killian to the roof just for the fun of it. And that's certainly some nice consistency for a character across multiple movies. But one of the reasons I really like the Don't Waste Your Life moment is because of who Tony is shown to be in this first movie. For the first half hour of the movie, before we're ever shown any kind of Iron Man suit, we are introduced to who Tony Stark is. And let me just make an aside here and comment that this is one of the things I really appreciate about the MCU. They understood the importance of taking your time, establishing characters in the universe. 25% of this movie is spent showing you who Tony is before you ever see the suit. And the next 25% of the movie is showing you Tony making the Iron Man suit, learning how to use it. It's a great contrast when compared to other movies that provide a throwaway line to tell you something and then never give you any on-screen support for that statement. Oh, so you're best friends who really rely on each other? I guess I'll just have to take your word for that because I never got to see any of it over the course of 3 movies. Anyway, back to Tony. We're shown that Tony Stark, while not being overtly sexist per se, is demeaning toward women. objectifying them and seldom bothering to learn their name. We're shown that he has no respect for anyone beyond himself, and frankly no respect for himself either. He belittles even his closest friend for trying to give him an award, only to casually get rid of it the first chance he gets, and then the very next day wastes time fooling around his workshop, forcing his friend to wait for 3 hours. He gives the excuse of doing a piece for Vanity Fair, you know, more objectification there, but the truth is, he was up plenty early enough to get to the airport on time. He just didn't care enough about Rhodey to do anything about it. While I wouldn't classify Tony as a spoiled brat, I mean, he has clearly worked hard even though he was left very well off after the death of his parents. However, he is definitely a man who is used to getting what he wants. Tony is also irreverent. He has no regard for human life. He doesn't care about who his weapons are used on. In fact, he brags about,
I prefer the weapon you only have to fire once.
he's simply content to believe that anyone who has his weapons is a good guy, and anyone that the weapon is used on will by default be a bad guy. The best part of this is that while they take a half hour to go over this, the truth is they show us each of these traits within the first 2 minutes of the movie. He's irreverent.
You're a woman. I couldn't have called that. I mean, I'd apologize, but isn't that what we're going for here?
He's used to getting what he wants.
Please, no gang signs. No, throw it up, I'm kidding.
He objectifies women's.
But you have actually excellent bone structure there. I'm kind of having a hard time not looking at you now. Is that weird?
But he's also a people person. Far from being unapproachable or aloof, he initiates the conversation. And then he's shown the first moment that his worldview isn't as accurate as he thought. That maybe his weapons could be used on someone who isn't a bad guy. Or at least not a bad guy in his mind. Because let's face it, Tony Stark at this point is a bad person. So let's go ahead and fast forward to the scene I want to talk about. We meet Jensen, he saves Tony's life. We see that Tony's weapons are being used by bad guys, and we're told what's at stake. If Tony doesn't build the Jericho device, he's going to be killed. And if he does build the Jericho device, the minute he's finished, he's still going to be killed. Tony Stark has to find a way to escape. And in order to do so, he builds the arc reactor and the suit. We see it powering up, Jensen goes out to buy Tony more time, Jensen gets shot, and we finally get to this line. Tony says,
We got a plan, we're gonna stick to it.
Jensen responds with,
This was always the plan, Stark.
Tony says,
Come on, you gotta go see your family, get up.
and Jensen replies,
My family's dead.
I love the look of shock that comes over Tony's face as everything clicks into place. The realization that someone he's been treating as nothing more than an extra pair of hands, despite the fact that the very first thing Jensen did was save his life, had from the moment they met decided that he was going to save Tony's life at the cost of his own life. It is at this moment that Tony begins to change and says the only possible thing he could say in this situation.
Thank you for saving me.
To which Jensen responds,
Don't waste it. Don't waste your life.
Now, there are a lot of reasons I love this scene so much. There's the fact that for 20 full seconds after Jensen's death, there's almost no background music. There are some very faint violins at first, and some low playing brass at the end, but it's easy to miss with how restrained it is. Instead, we're given a huge chunk of time to assimilate the death of Jensen, and to get a sense for how angry Tony is as the Mark I suit's footsteps heavily thud until he exits the cave. Then there's the great acting being done by both Robert Downey Jr. and Sean Toby.
So we're talking with assistant head coach and special teams coach Dave Tobe.
Man, names are hard. But moving beyond Iron Man 1, the thing that I really love about this scene is the way it sets the stage for every last Iron Man movie to come, and the Avenger movies, most of the Captain America movies, and even Spider-Man. All the plots for these movies stem as a result of Iron Man trying not to waste his life. In this first Iron Man movie, we get to see him struggle with how to accomplish that. He tries to shut down the weapons manufacturing branch of his company as soon as he gets back, but all that happens is that he gets kicked off the board, and he's left floundering, trying to figure out who he should be. He tries to reconnect with Rhodey, only to find that he's damaged his friendship. I mean, they don't come out and say it, but in this scene where Tony is rescued by Rhodey, I can't watch it anymore without hearing the line from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where Rocket says,
He didn't chase him away. Even though he yelled at him, I was always mean. And he stole batteries he didn't need.
Tony and Rocket both have the same moment of realization that they've been complete jerks to everyone they've known, and they want to change. Tony's forced to realize that the only person he hasn't completely driven away yet is Pepper. The rest of the movies I mentioned are driven by Tony's desire not to waste the sacrifice Jensen made for him. In Iron Man 2, Tony tries to leave a meaningful legacy behind when he finds out that he's dying. In the Avengers, we see him realizing that it's not just about him, that the best version of himself is one that's part of something larger as a team. In Iron Man 3, we see him struggling with the aftermath of almost making the ultimate sacrifice.
How did he get out of the wormhole?
Not only is he suffering from coming face to face with his own mortality, but he's also been hit hard by Steve's words.
Big man in a suit of armor. Take that off, what are you?
Tony struggles with this question. Who is he without the Iron Man suit? Is he still someone worth saving? Phase 2 deals with Tony devoting his life toward a higher purpose, something explicitly stated in the Avengers: The Age of Ultron.
I see a suit of armor around the world.
Something he views as protecting the people he cares about, but in reality is just a cage. A fact brought to a head in Captain America: Civil War, where Tony goes from being the background force causing problems for most of Phase 2, into the actual villain, where his policies are imprisoning anyone who disagrees with him. In Spider-Man: Homecoming, he's mentoring the next generation, laying down one of the hardest truths he had to learn himself.
If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it, okay?
Phases 1 through 3 of the MCU had some stellar standalone movies, and let's say 3 painful ones. However, the thread that actually binds the movies into a larger story is that of Tony Stark on his path of becoming something better, of becoming someone worthy of dying for. It didn't always work the way he meant for it to, but he's trying. In the Avengers: Infinity War and Avengers: Endgame, we see the perfect completion of Tony's arc. His journey from being a self-centered man to becoming a selfless man is complete, and I sincerely hope they don't try to bring him back into future movies through time travel or prequels or anything. This one "Don't Waste Your Life" scene has done more to set the plot and tone than any other moment in the entire MCU. It is the beginning of the story of one man trying to make his life one that was worth saving, and that is why I find this to be one marvelous scene. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it because I really enjoyed making it. This was the very first video I had ever planned to do, but other things came up, so I've really been looking forward to making it. If I ever hit 100 subscribers, I'll make an extra video talking about what got me into this and the software I'm using to do it. Be sure to comment on other media you'd like me to review, telling me how I could improve my videos going forward or where I was completely wrong in my analysis. If you want me to talk about some other Marvel or DC movie, be sure to tell me which one you'd like to see next. And until the next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up your countenance and give you peace. Amen.